everybody. I'm Lex.
And I'm William.
And
we are Dead Gentry.
I get some gloves on here.
So what are we talking about today?
We're talking about glass.
How did you know?
People love glass.
They do. I
so
love
much glass.
One of my favorite things to collect.
I know, you have such a beautiful glass collection. William has an outstanding glass collection. It just keeps getting better as time goes by. Someday someone's either going to inherit that or go to your estate sale and just be in awe.
Right.
So a lot of some Murano. What I brought all this glass out to do is I wanted to go over the glass clowns.
Yeah.
There are so many people that are into collecting glass clowns, so I wanted to kind of do a video specifically on them with some evaluations for everyone. And also, if you're a collector, what to look for, what some differences are, how to tell good quality. And then some terms, just that are applied to glass itself and glass working and buying and all of those sorts of things.
So you can know what to look for and know what you're talking about.
Educational video. Yeah. How to sound like a pro, right? Like, what does someone mean when they say Bollicante or Aventurina or, Millefiore? So a little bit of an educational video. But let's start with the Murano glass clowns. As I said, very collectible. People actively seek these out. These can actually be hard to win specific ones to add to a collection on eBay. Like, I know people that will sit there and watch auction house sites waiting for clown pieces to come up because they want to add specific pieces to their collection.
Yeah.
So prices stay fairly firm. These, one of those funny things about vintage and antiquities work is when you go online and you see people saying this is circa 1950, circa 1960, circa 1920, circa...
Yeah.
They're from the 70s, specifically 74. That is when Murano glass clowns really started taking off. Sorry, the air quality is like a little poor. Excuse me, everyone. It's tough. William was just coughing and he hit it better than I did.
Gotta be subtle.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like maybe it's a little dusty in here or something.
It's a little fall dusty.
So, it is fall. 100 degrees, but it's fall. Okay. Maybe we should start with the little bowl.
Okay.
So, candy bowl would be a search term you could use to find this. Originally designed as an ashtray.
See the ridges
Not usually sold as an ashtray anymore.
Right. Too nice, too well made, too expensive for an ashtray.
And thankfully, most people thought the same thing.
Yes.
In the 70s and 80s and did not use it as an ashtray. Decided they didn't want to damage it in that way, which makes us all very happy. So, if you find the small clown bowls, say signed by Barbini or Senadiz, you could be looking at $300 to $500 for one. I want to give what's an idea of a high range of quality?
Yeah.
A signed piece of Barbini bowl, you could be looking at $300 to $500. Again, dependent on size, color, condition, detail. And when it comes to these glass clown pieces, the different colors, how many little details, is there a bow and a collar and maybe a top hat and maybe details on the feet, maybe bows on the floppy feet, or an extra layer of makeup around the mouth, like white and red against yellow. All of these little things add to the evaluation.
Okay.
So the more detail, the more color, the more desirable it becomes. And then, of course, also, you want to look for good quality, no damage. Damage really affects these pieces quite a bit. Pieces, say, with polka dots, stripes, extra ridges, extra billows in the cloth material, all of those things make them more valuable.
Yeah. This is a cool piece. That's the color is rich.
Yeah,
Well
if
done.
there were more colors on that bowl,
Yeah.
I would say it would probably easily be in the $85 to $200 range. Again, depending on how many more colors. So when they're solid and they're these ashtray bowls, again, people love them. People use them as candy bowls and people do add them to collections. So, and they're beautiful little center table displays as well. I see that quite
absolutely.
a bit. 60 to 65 at auction. So I don't want to under-evaluate or over-evaluate. I want to give people an idea of what to look for. There's a little Saguso, little clown. It's not a bowl. It almost looks like a teacup sized, very diminutive. And it almost looks like a little bug, like the little clown face popping up with a little antenna.
Yeah.
And the little Sagusos, those are really, people search for them. I want to say $100 a piece.
Wow. Even that small.
Even though they're so small.
Yeah.
Especially collectors. Because collectors want that little Saguso in their collection. So people kind of, it's one of those things I've seen people hunt for and pay up for quite a bit.
Nice.
Seated guy. An example of cased glass, the little light blue, sort of an aquamarine almost going on here. This is a Murano. You see that foil sticker there, not always in place. Desirable if it is, not necessary.
Right.
Not going to change the value a whole lot if someone knows it's a Murano, if you can identify it correctly. Now, what will change the value on this piece?
It looks great here. But here you can tell.
It's damaged.
Damaged.
So damage to a piece like this is absolutely going to decrease its value significantly. 125 undamaged, this exact piece. And you can find others of these. So if you want an undamaged one, right, you can find this one. I've seen it. It usually comes around every 4 months or so. You can find it somewhere publicly to buy or at auction. But undamaged. So authentic Murano with the sticker, but with damage. I mean, when it isn't super obvious, it's not like a huge problem. It's not like you should throw it in the garbage can. It's now worthless.
Right.
I would say if it was missing a hand, if the head had come off, if the feet were badly broken in a very obvious way, you'd be reducing the value so much. Trying to sell it or collect it wouldn't even be worth someone's time.
Okay.
But when it's, say, the color, that is damage. And yet, you can take this to a jeweler and have that buff down, that little piece of glass. Yeah. That's the first thing I would say to people. You can't do that with glass pieces. You can't have it restored easily, but you can, or repaired easily with missing glass like this, but you can't have it polished down. And it becomes far less obvious, far less dangerous, and then you can keep it. It's good for many decades to come. And some people like the wabi-sabi, that whole aesthetic of imperfect items. They'll seek out chipped teacups, stuff like that.
Right.
So a piece like this is still valuable. I would say $50 or less. So you see that huge discrepancy from $125 all the way down to $50 or less than half, because of the damage involved.
Now, we'll go over this a little bit later, I think, but the case glass means what in this particular case?
So case glass, we'll go over the term a little bit more. But you see that light blue that William's showing that's almost inside, it's enveloped inside a clearer, darker blue?
Yeah.
That's cased glass. It's the idea of, well, it has to do with the way it's layered and folded, but when you're thinking about it, glass that looks encased in another layer of glass.
That makes sense.
You'll often see it on a vase around the rim, say a Polish ruffled vase. Just around the rim, you'll see that case work where maybe it's a lovely opalescent white or clear over another color. And that'll show it to be cased glass. So very pretty. Actually, the bow as well, you see that? That's also cased glass. It has that lighter, clear, dark red over a far less transparent orange type of glass underneath. So another example of cased glass there. When you're looking for these, how do you know it's Murano without that sticker?
Quality, right? So like the hands.
There you go. I would always tell people
pretty
hands.
Good detailed hands for clown hands, right? Nicely made quality, proportionate, consistently, thickness between the fingers, that type of thing. Even the quality of the bow as well. Try to get a good shot of it. Just well made. So the higher the quality, the more likely it's going to be Murano.
And vibrant.
Okay.
The colors should be vibrant. They should be distinct from each other. You won't see blurring. You're not going to see a lot of unclear bases. Even if they're polished, they should be very clear, very well finished. So everything William said, and I always tell people, with the clown specifically, look at those feet, look at that beautiful free form of the pulling work, almost like taffy that's been pulled or blown by hand, right off the rod there. And then also the hands with Murano. See, they put texturing in the feet.
Yeah.
A lovely little detail from an Italian glass worker. And the hands, every finger, distinctly defined, well defined, not just a lump. Right? Not just like kind of a bulbous little blob like he's wearing mittens. Or she. It could be a female clown. We don't know. But, so yes, absolutely. A wonderful example of Murano glass. This one has some damage. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
These are great. I love going over glass bowls. So we have a slightly taller, you see that slightly taller, darker blue, that cobalt blue. Also a Murano piece. A different sticker. But still an authentic Murano. Different artist, different year. Sometimes these will be signed, very often they aren't. But so here's another great example of Murano. This piece undamaged, $100. Any day of the week.
Yeah.
It's actually quite a bit taller than it looks on the screen here. For those watching at home, this piece is, I want to say, almost 14 inches tall, something like it's over a foot. That has to do with the evaluation. So when I say this piece, be careful. This piece, I have 14 inches tall in perfect condition with its original sticker, $100. There are pieces that look like this that are 4 to 6 inches. So don't go, say, I don't know, on Etsy or something and see all the little clowns put in the search term. And you got to pay attention to size, I guess is what I'm saying. Look at the details and make sure you're not buying a 5-inch one for $100, because very often a seller who's a reseller who maybe hasn't done all their homework will punch in the same search terms that you just punched in, see that a piece like this sells for $100 and not realize that it's not a 6-inch piece, that it's a 15-inch piece. And then they'll put in their 6-inch piece for $100 thinking it's valued at that. And then you'll buy it by accident by forgetting to check the size. So these are just all things to keep in mind, hopefully to make you a little bit more savvy. See that beautiful, that's a chosen finish.
Yeah.
See that crescent moon where it's they've polished it but then left it recessed.
That's neat.
Beautifully clear where it is recessed. Very well done. I love this one's little red top hat as well. Just very pretty.
Yeah, the red. She won't get any sunlight.
Nice to see it in such completely undamaged condition as well.
I'm gonna put it down because it gets heavy.
Poor William's like trying to stretch his arms.
It's the awkward extended arm hold that makes it difficult.
So,
should we do the chunky guy?
You can, our thick boy. You could stand him up and not hold him maybe, and then I'll have you hold him in a little bit.
Let's get a real good close up.
Now this is an example of Russian. This is a Russian blown glass clown. And when we purchased this piece, someone had listed it as a Murano, because sometimes they see colored glass, they see a clown or an abstract glass figurine, and everything becomes Murano in someone's mind.
Yeah.
This is actually a Russian Felina. And there are others like this. Again, this is a very large piece.
Yeah, probably 14, 15 inches, something like that?
Yeah, the camera really doesn't do it justice. It is very wide, over a foot tall.
Blue hat.
And, it's got that great patterning inside the hat too, a little bit. Some of those darker dyes mixed in. So a Felina like this, $165. There are others with more colors.
Right.
More layered colors, different colors in the fringes. You could be looking at having to pay more for those. But again, perfect condition. This one's got this kind of the that face. You can tell it's hand painted because of the eye. But I actually enjoy the
I like it.
The kind of wonky eye. It's very
the white kind of marbling almost effect underneath the face cover here.
And that's something else you only see in the Russian clowns. This almost, it's like it's filled with like a fluff, like it's like a pillowing or cloud effect going on where they have mixed colors and filled the head form.
It's pretty cool. Now you can tell the hands definitely aren't as
exactly
solidly
so
made as Muranos.
How would you tell this isn't a Murano? Look at the hands. Now it is nice that they took the time to actually control somewhat and create different digits.
The feet as well.
But not as much control.
Yeah.
Right? Not quite as fine.
Yep.
And yet very desirable.
Still a nice piece, yeah.
For its heft. Inside of a collection, it would be a centerpiece for sure. And then also, some people will pay more for Russian. Mm-hmm. They might have a heritage connection or a personal family connection to Russian art or a glass, and might prefer Russian to Italian glass.
Yep.
Some people want a Russian piece because they already have an Italian and a Parisian piece, and they're looking for that third country to add to a collection. All of these things can affect value. But yeah,
Some
165.
people, yeah, I mean, the size alone is eye-catching and appealing too. I like it.
Yes, it is large.
She's large.
Very large. We could talk about some of these. I feel like the video's already getting a little bit long. I don't mean to rush everyone. I try to give some evaluations so that people can know what to look for. And again, when you're looking for Murano, vibrant colors. Yeah. Or when you're looking for any high quality glass, right? Mm-hmm. Detail, distinction, attention to fine elements, no damage. And sometimes signed, look for a signature, sometimes should have a sticker. With Murano, check those stickers. If it says something in Italian and then says Murano, it might say in Italian, made in the style of Murano, which is not a Murano piece. It means it's someone mimicking a Murano piece. It might be desirable and it's still going to have value, but it's not Murano and it's not going to be evaluated as high as a Murano. It should just say Murano, made in Italy or handmade, Murano, Italy, Murano Island. So just to give you an idea, it should, in the style of is not the same thing. Take the time to read the sticker if there's one there. Yes. More on glass. So terms. I was going to go over some terms. Yeah. Just so people can know.
I like that.
Millefiore.
It's Italian.
It is Italian. Millefiore.
Just an example of the Millefiore.
Yeah, go for it. Do you want to talk about it? You want me to talk about it? What do you know about Millefiore?
What I know about is the I don't want to sound completely uneducated about it, but the flowering effect inside of the glass, right?
Yes, that is what it is. And this is actually not a great example. This is a beautiful piece. Right. This is a Russian piece. I would guess that this is or a Soviet piece. Look at that base, not clear. Mm-hmm. See the kind of clouding effect going on there. Not always the case, but very often the case. This is in the style of Murano, Millefiore. So those little flowers, so milla meaning 1,000, fiore meaning flower in Italian, 1,000 flowers. That's literally what the translation is. It's done with canes of rod glass that are already put into these flower forms, and they slice them almost like a cake, and we'll add them in, and you get this wonderful effect. Yeah. And so how would you tell that this isn't necessarily Italian? Look, it's all kind of bulbous. Like it's kind of, the form isn't precise. Mm-hmm. There's some blurring and pulling, and you see that bubble. Yeah. These aren't things you'd find in Murano Millefiore. I think there's, I think the blue perfume bottle has some Millefiore. It might be hard to see, but that is a Murano. So you could tell the difference. This is actually a Bollicante Murano Millefiore. So you see these beautiful flowers? These are Murano cane glass Millefiore flowers. Oh, and there's your, they're not in the style of, there is your actual foil from that studio in Italy. Beautiful piece. Yeah. So, as I said, Bollicante as well. Another term. So you can sound like a pro. Sound like a pro. Why not? Whether you're selling and you want maybe a higher caliber of patron that searches words like Millefiore and Bollicante.
Bollicante is the bubbling effect,
Controlled bubble. It literally means bubbles controlled. Okay. So you see how every single bubble is symmetric. Yeah. Every single bubble is exactly the same diameter.
This one's literally in a pattern.
It's in a perfect pattern. There is no discrepancy between one bubble and the next. That is Bollicante. That is a beautiful example of a Murano Bollicante. Yeah. Very pretty. An awesome piece. We like it. Yeah, very pretty. They made quite a few of those. You don't see them as much as anymore. No. But in the 70s and 80s, the perfume bottle art, very, very pretty. So And then you have things like Ballaton in Italian, a diamond pattern. So it's a decoration in the glass that literally creates diamonds, just the geometric outline of them. So
right.
Just think of a diamond pattern on a piece of paper and you've got the idea. And that's usually done using a bronze mold. A cased glass, we went over a little bit. So cased glass, a glass piece that has 2 or more layers of different colors, where the inner or outer layers can be clear. So when I say 2 different colors, I don't mean it has to be a pink and a green to be cased glass. It could be clear and pink, or something along those lines, or even clear and white. Yeah. Absolutely.
See that a lot.
But it does look like one layer of glass is encased inside of the other.
For sure.
Cold cut glass. So there's an English term, not Italian at all, meaning any kind of decoration, relief, including polishing, cutting, engraving, grinding, etching. When someone etches their signature into the bottom of glass, it's called etching. Those are cold cut glass techniques, and all that means is literally it doesn't require the glass to be heated to create the technique. So you do it only on cold glass or once the glass is cold. What else? Avventurina, which in Italian means by chance, right? Happenstance, a happy accident. Avventurina glass includes metal shavings. Your Murano bowl there, I believe, has some. So the original term had to do with maybe accidentally parts of metal flaking were left behind.
Right.
But now it's quite obviously done on purpose, where you get these, that has millefeuille in the base pattern as well. That's beautiful. I didn't even know that was in there.
Combo piece.
So it creates these crystallization particles inside the structure of the glass. So that's Avventurina.
Yeah, you can see the blue and the pink right there.
And all different sorts of oxides and metals are used for that process. It's not like it has to be one type.
Yeah.
Finissio, also known as feathered, festooned, plumed. That's a beautiful example. So Finissio can look like the spider web designs that are created on, like, if you think of a French cheesecake with icing. I don't know how many people. This is a beautiful example of it, like the draping. So festooned is a very old word. I don't know how many people actually know that word. People would think of a feathered probably more often.
Right.
So this sort of a draping effect would be considered a Finissio, and so would when you think of the icing on a cake and they pull a toothpick through to create on the front of the Russian piece. That is a feathering effect. That is a Finissio effect, but you wouldn't call it that because this is a Russian piece. But if you saw this effect in Italian glass, you would call it that because it is feathered.
Right.
On this piece, I don't know how you say feathered in Russian. I'm not sure if there's a word.
I don't know.
But that is feathered glass. Filigrana, which means filigree in Italian. So someone says, I have a beautiful filigrana urn, right? What they're saying is it's blown glass that's colorless. It's sometimes white, and then color canes are used. It's almost like, and then there's mezza filigrana, which is very white, very clear, milky white patterning. But it's how do you describe filigree well? Almost like a candy cane effect might be a way to talk about it.
Okay.
Look it up, everyone. Let me say it that way.
Yeah.
Look up filigree and look up the word filigrana glass, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And maybe take the time to look at mezza filigrana as well, because they're absolutely stunning pieces.
Very pretty.
Reticulo, which means fine network. It's just Italian for fine network. So, again, maybe crisscross patterning.
Okay.
That would be an example of that.
Yep.
A massette, spots, irregular patterns. That beautiful piece back there. Yeah, your tiger stripe. So that would actually be considered massette. So, irregular. Yeah. So we talked about controlled bubbles having a very regular pattern. You can see that this is almost abstracted. So just random colors and globs of glass fusing together. Actually, this isn't fused glass. That's another term. We have a fused glass piece. I'll go over that. But so you get the idea. Massette, spots. Random spots. Usually in different colors.
This one too?
That is fused.
Okay.
Now, you feel how this has texture to it.
Yeah, you can kind of see it in the...
This is a Polish piece, I believe. Very similar to their confetti glass techniques, but a little bigger chunks of glass going on here. So rather than having a very smooth top texture like the vase that William was showing before this piece, if you run your fingers over it, you would feel every little different piece of glass that has been brought into connection with the glass next to it, and that's called fused glass. And this is a very beautiful example. Diminutive little stem vase. You also have Maurice, which is when a thread or a cord is not a thread, a rope or a cord or a frill. It's applied usually to the exterior of, say, a vase. When you have that thing that maybe looks like a fin starting at the base and wrapping itself all the way up.
Protruding outside of
it. Yes. So applied glass in a rope-like or fin-like structure to the outside of the surface of another piece. It's another great term to know for the pros out there. Pelagoso. Pelagoso is lots of tiny bubbles in a bunch of different sizes all over the exterior and interior of glass. They actually pour, they'll pour different liquids, say like petroleum, like actual gasoline, over molten glass, and it creates this bubbling effect.
That's cool.
So it's not crackle,
right,
but it has that kind of dispersive, but tons of tiny bubbles.
Yeah.
Pelagoso. Rigadine means ribs, like ribbed. It makes glass look strong. You see it in a lot of lampshade covers.
Yeah.
These kind of ribs coming down very symmetrically. Yeah. Okay. I'm babbling on in Italian forever.
It's helpful.
We're already almost at half an hour here. Sommerso is another great one. If you don't know Sommerso glass, take the time to go Google it. Just look it up and enjoy. Let your eyes feast. Sommerso. So Sommerso is layered glass, but instead of cased, it means submerged or beneath. So several layers of glass, usually in different colors, pressed right up against each other, or it gives the illusion of being immersed without the colors ever mixing or blending at all. So very separate. Distinct, yes. And it shouldn't look blurred. One color should not look pulled into the other.
Okay.
But very beautiful Murano Sommersos. I don't know, just looking over the table, other things, you got some Bluebirds of Happiness out there, beautiful little pieces. I see these all the time, incredibly popular. There's lots of them. These happen to have their nice little, is it Fayetteville, Arkansas?
Yeah.
Something like that. Oh, and they have their signatures, which is lovely. So we talk about signatures. Let me point this out. You see the signature down here saying which number in the creation it was, and it's signed here T something, Titan. Yeah. For Titan Art Glass Company. That's etched. That's an example of etched. They've etched their signature in, so that's what that can look like. And also, this is what an actual authentic etched signature looks like.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering what that looks like, that's what it looks like. And again, wonderful example with the little foil sticker. Is there anything we haven't shown? There's a pink of raspberry Fenton back there, hobnail, beautiful. Just to give you an idea of what that means. Very desirable.
Pretty, self-explanatory with the
yes, and these are actually tend to be the more desirable, where the spikes are moving in different sizes and heights. Yeah. So not just hobnail, very uniform, but the older. Oh, someone has a little Post-it in there. It's likely on the inside of the vase. I'll have to pull it out with chopsticks. Oh yeah. There's a cute hint.
I did not even.
I should mention to everyone, whether you're saying packaging a piece of glass to send to someone, or you're a reseller, or maybe you've purchased a piece of glass, the hollow cavities in glass, a good packager will fill those hollow cavities. So if there is, say, a vase or a pitcher like that, it should be filled with something tissue paper,
Yes.
perhaps a light uniform browning paper.
Right.
You see those little peanuts, not styrofoam, but the little packaging peanuts, very often used. You want that? That's a good thing. That helps your objects, whatever they are, when you fill hollow space voids during
Right.
packaging, it's much less likely to break in shipment. So that's a good thing. But sometimes, say with a piece like that, someone's pushed a bunch of peanuts in there. How on earth do you get them out? Chopsticks. This is, and I will often, when we ship a piece, I will even put in those free little chopsticks that you get in a paper wrapper.
Right.
I actually will hoard those and include them in shipments for people and write a little note. No, I'm not trying to make you hungry. These are so you can pull the peanuts out of your piece very delicately without damaging the piece. It's just a great little trick. I feel like maybe a lot of people don't know that, and that's the sort of thing I forget to mention.
Yeah,
So
you want to avoid using metal, so use like little wood chopsticks. And,
No metal. Don't put any metal in chopstick.
Exactly.
Little wooden chopsticks so that someone can remove the packaging very delicately. Thank you, everyone. I hope this helps.
Like and subscribe, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.